There was a primary nebula. Then there was a big...
Less than a billionth of a second after the Big Bang, a bubble much smaller than a fraction of an atom forms. This is the universe. It is unimaginably small and unimaginably hot. Within this bubble, the four known forces of nature: gravity, electromagnetism, plus the strong and the weak nuclear forces, are a combined superforce. Gravity suddenly splits off from the superforce as the universe expands. As the universe expands, it cools, which somehow sets off a burst of energy, fueling the hyperinflation of the universe, suggested by Alan Guth. This inflation locks in the uniformity of the universe pictured by the WMAP satellite. The universe is still less than a second old when the superforce decays into the separate forces of nature. Roughly 3 minutes after the Big Bang, the temperature of the universe has dropped to a mere 1 billion degrees Fahrenheit.
There was a secondary separation which gave rise to galaxies, the sun, the moon, and the earth on which we live. This we call as a Big Bang. When did you come to know about this creation of the universe? So he will tell you, about 30-40 years back, the scientists that discovered this. You ask him the question, but what you're talking about the Big Bang is already mentioned in the Quran, in Surah Anbiya, chapter number 21, verse number 30. Says, Avalam yaral lazina kafaru. Do not the unbelievers see anna samawati wal arda kanat ratkan fasaknahuma, that the heavens and the earth were joined together and we clove them asunder. What you are talking about the Big Bang is already mentioned in the Quran 1400 years ago. Who could have mentioned that? Quran mentions 1400 years ago in Surah Furqan, chapter number 25, verse number 61, that blessed is he who had placed the constellation in the sky. So the atheist will say, maybe it's a fluke. No problem. Don't argue with him. You continue. The light of the moon, is it its own light or reflected light? So the atheist will tell us that previously we thought the moon has its own light. Recently we have come to know in science, recently means 100 years back, 200 years back, we have come to know that the light of the moon is not its own light but a reflected light. Borrowed light. Who could have mentioned in the Quran 1400 years ago that the light of the moon is not its own light but reflected light, which we have come to know recently? The atheist may say, your Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, maybe he was an intelligent man. Don't argue with him.